After the pledge, please remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of former Councilman Lou Esposito and Mrs. Beth Porter, who served on the Bicentennial Committee and on the Historical Society. Please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Marianne Rosa,
Here.
Ken Demers, Robert DeSena,
Here.
Anthony DeBona,
Here.
Gary Lafferty,
Here.
Marina Noy,
Here.
Jonathan Ramsey,
Here.
Robert Ritalik,
Here.
and Rachel Ryan.
Here. Under recognition this week, we have a proclamation for Older Americans Month 2025. Whereas May is Older Americans Month, a time for us to recognize and honor Watertown older adults and their immense influence on every facet of American society. And whereas through their wealth of life experience and wisdom, older adults guide our younger generations and carry forward abundant cultural and historical knowledge. And whereas Watertown's growing population of older adults enriches our community with strength, wisdom, and diverse life experiences, and where the town of Watertown is committed to honoring their contributions, exploring opportunities for them to stay active and engaged, and highlighting the opportunities for purpose, exploration, and connection that come with aging. And whereas the 2025 theme for the Old Americans Month, Flip the Script on Aging, focuses on transforming how society perceives, talks about, and approaches aging. Now, therefore, the Town of Watertown Town Council does hereby proclaim May 20th, 2025 as Older Americans Month. We call upon all residents to join in recognizing the contributions of our older citizens and promoting programs and activities that foster connection, inclusion, and support for older adults. Dated at Watertown, the 5th day of May, 2025. Marianne Rosa, Chairman of the Town Council.
Is it really? Oh, look, they're all cleared out. Guy, good seeing you. There's the people who used to run the drum corps. I'm looking at you.
Next on the agenda is public participation. Mr. Mickle.
Al Mickle, 95 Woodbine Avenue. First observation about tonight's public participation. At the public hearing for the budget, their clock was much better than mine, yours. You could see it. It warned you when you were close to the end. See if you can't borrow it sometime. One of the other things about that meeting, I guess the format for a public participation was not seriously considered. One of the speakers really ripped a town employee apart. I think went overboard on on some of the comments made about the school superintendent, I think unnecessarily. So is it free to talk like that in a public meeting like that? I thought you were against that sort of thing.
Definitely we are.
Well, it shouldn't have happened. The next thing is really, I think, quite interesting, or at least to me anyway. The budget. I went through the budget several times, lots of times, and I noticed that there was a line item several times for training, which I thought was an excellent idea because that was mentioned in the CLA report. There was going to be training. So now there's money put aside for that training. My curiosity is the time and attendance is required now. Everybody uses it except the police department. Does that have the capability of recording how much time was spent by what employee during the training? Can the time and attendance and our accounting system keep track of that information?
Obviously not working in the town, I couldn't answer that for you, but we'll find out and let you know.
Oh, thank you very much, because it'd be important to know who's been trained and who's not been trained.
Okay.
Oh, I got lots more time.
Ms. Kamara?
I understood the need for the April 24th special meeting to finalize the budget referendum, but you included a random item that should have been on tonight's meeting agenda, and it was to consider authorizing an application under FEMA for 49 Knight Street. The public has definitely noticed that you're holding a lot of special meetings on matters that should be on your regular agenda, and it gives the appearance that you want to conceal these things from the public. And this one's interesting. Because not all that long ago, a resident came before you with a flooding problem on property in Oakville near the Ojo's Bar. The town told the resident that there was absolutely nothing the town could do to help her. However, the town never suggested getting a FEMA grant to acquire that property. It's my understanding that sometime after the resident was here, it was determined that a pipe was blocked or it was installed improperly, but that whatever it was had been corrected. But what about if it had just been straight up flooding? So since you're now going to apply for a FEMA grant to acquire the Knight Street property, what's the criteria going forward for the rest of the residents in town? Will this be done for anyone with a flooding issue? I've had flooding issues. Do you have a policy for this new procedure, or will we just have to wait to see if what you do when someone other than a Republican town committee member has the same issue? It's going to be curious to see. You're setting a precedent. And then another note, I have a Freedom of Information request. Perhaps Mr. Ramo will say something about this afterwards that is requiring me to come to the town manager's office to review documents that belong to the fire department. I question why I'd have to come to the town manager's office when, if I go to the police department, ask records from the police department, I go to the police department. And since it's been said how cumbersome it is for freedom of information, I'm trying to make it easy. You know, I'm trying to go to the department that holds the records. So I'm a little confused why I'm being told to go to the town manager's office for records that belong to the fire department. And it's also interesting to me because I'm finding that the fire department operates as a public charity and kind of takes care of itself, isn't part of our audit and all of that. So I'm very confused about why I would go to the town manager's office to view those records. So possibly I could get an answer to that. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to address the council before we close public participation? Seeing none, we'll move on. Do we have a motion for the minutes?
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 21st, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
Abstention.
Abstention.
2 abstentions. The motion passes. Under the chairman's report, we have a letter of resignation from Ken LaRosa as a member of the Park and Recreation Commission. And we have a letter from the Park and Recreation Commission relative to the meeting that's being held for the town's 250th and the Americans' semi-quincentennial celebrations. The United States is celebrating their 250th birthday next year on July 4th, 2026. And the town is celebrating in May of 2030. So we are planning an organizational meeting headed up by Park and Rec to appoint the necessary committees. And Park and Rec has been kind enough to send a letter out to all the town organizations asking for a representative. And if anyone knows of anyone that would like to participate or serve on the committee, please just send a letter in to the Park and Recreation Department so that we have your name and can advise you of meetings and put you on a committee. Moving on to staff reports, Town Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm just going to discuss the memo that I placed into the item agenda number 8A, the cuts that were made by myself after being instructed by the Town Council to cut $1 million. So as we went through the budget, I eliminated the FOI, POI, or PIO staffing position at $65,900. Public buildings, we took out the cost for the HVAC improvements for the police department at $791,000. There was an accumulative cost from the police department that was taken out for 6 patrol rifles that were going to be allocated for sergeants. Cancellation of patrol rifle upgrades for $4,000, removal of 4 aging red dot sight replacements, and then elimination of patrol shotgun outfitting accessories. Communications, removal of the first issue dispatch uniform. We chose to put that off till next year. I did reduce the secondary animal control officer. We went back to a part-time model. We'll be putting that out for applications in the next month or so, and we believe that we could get by with that full-time, part-time model. The Highway Department, we took out a John Deere dozer at about $44,000. Another big change was the Land Use and Building Department. We transitioned back to a part-time building official. The work, I did have a discussion with both the department head and the department manager, and we felt that we could move back to that part-time model. Several years back, the council had chose to put land use in charge of buildings. At some point, I'm probably going to try and split that off again. It doesn't seem to be working as efficiently as we thought it would. So I think with separating that out and going back to a full-time, part-time model, it would be in the best interest of the town. The fire department, we eliminated about $7,500 out of the communications equipment, and that was as a result of the $3.6 million grant that we received to upgrade communications. We were able to save some money there. Under Parks and Recreation, we eliminated a vehicle with the estimated monthly payment of $11,000. I'm sorry, the annual payment of $11,000 between 2 departments, Social Services and Recreation. And then under Parks, we eliminated $5,000 from a $25,000 request to improve pavement management throughout the Parks Department. All total was $1 million. Happy to discuss any specific item, but those are the items that I felt we can take away out of this budget year and move forward. This will not be any surprise to any department head. We discussed the cuts before I made them, and although they advocated to keep the money in, we had come to an agreement on those cuts.
Anybody have any questions?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I know I've asked this question a couple times, but was it possible to consider the salary increases for the senior center director, and I believe there was somebody else in the Parks and Recreation Department. I mean, I know I've asked this about the fact that it was a different position and unions, but I just don't I'm just not 100% sure that raise was absolutely mandatory at that number, because it seemed like that was a fair amount of money. And looking at the patrol rifles, and I know that when the police chief talked about that, and the ones they have are really quite old and they become inaccurate, and that could be quite dangerous if they're used, my understanding. So can you help me just understand that a little bit better?
Absolutely. The first thing, saying that just so to be clear, to say our rifles that are in operation are inaccurate or not accurate is not an accurate statement.
Okay.
So the wearing
That's
of
fair.
maybe parts can be an issue where the gun may misfire. The chief and I discussed this. There are enough guns in our armory that if we had to consolidate and put those, build a good gun, if we needed to, we can do that.
Okay.
So when we talked about eliminating those rifles, it was something that we could put off for a time being without affecting the safety of our police officers.
Okay, that's good.
Secondarily, as far as the two positions for Park and Recreation and the Senior Center, this was discussed in last year's budget, and we had actually talked about making these promotions. And one of the things that I thought got lost in the conversation was that the individuals that are sitting in these positions are in supervisory positions that we have not been paying them for. So one person is in charge of 5 people and the complete running of their department, and then the other one leads up to, and I'm going to put a number out there, I'm not 100% sure it's right, but 75 to 100 part-time individuals on top of the full-time individuals in the department. So absolutely, we could have adjusted those salaries by a few $1,000s, but then that puts us outside of the range that typical positions of that nature are going for. And then now again, we're going to be fighting to maintain people who want those jobs by adjusting the salaries for a few $1,000s. When I came in 2020, 21, we looked at this, and the Senior Center Coordinator's position and the Park and Recreation Assistant Superintendent, is the right wording? Assistant Director, clearly were argued consistently to be made supervisory positions, and nobody chose to do that. As we reinvented the organization and made those changes, I think this is a good investment of money when you take personalities out of this. As far as the organization moving forward, it's the right move for the organization. Personalities are going to change over time.
Okay, thank you, that was very helpful.
Yes.
My understanding is there might be grant money available related to the HVAC at the police department. I didn't know if you had any update or timeline or what.
Yes,
What
we
if we have on
submitted
that?
a grant with the state of Connecticut, a STEEP grant for up to $1 million. It may even be $1.1 million, and that would take care of the HVAC system as well as the generator system. The state is in receipt of our application. I know that our application was written very well, and I'm hoping that we'll be one of the towns that are chosen to receive that money. I have been in contact with our state representative and our state senator to advocate for Watertown to receive those monies. We should hopefully hear, I would think in the later spring, early summer timeframe. That's what I'm hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Ms. Guerrero?
Good evening, Honorable Chairwoman and council members. I just have a few quick updates from the Finance Department. First, the health fund payment status. So the appropriation the council voted on was the $2,959,974. As of today, combined, we have appropriated only what was needed so far, and it was $1,585,681.94, leaving a balance of $1,374,292.06. I'm monitoring this daily, The claims that are expected to come through have significantly decreased over the past few weeks, which was anticipated, and I expect to see this decrease continue on through at least the remainder of the calendar year. The Finance Software Committee met last Wednesday, and we continue to work through department-specific questions as it relates to processes and procedures. And I'm continuing to review the CLA Financial Operations Assessment, focusing on improving various job descriptions and implementing written policies for each department.
Very good. Anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to new business since we have no subcommittee reports.
I move to approve a request for a waiver of interest as permitted by Connecticut General Statute 12-145 for CenturyLink, Inc. for their telecommunication bill per Connecticut General Statute 12-80A for a total amount of $101.44.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining or objecting? Motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing an appropriation from the general fund in the amount of $1,749.57 for tax refunds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining? Motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing tax refunds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining? The motion passes unanimously.
I move to enter into executive session with the town manager and town attorney, along with the town council members present, to discuss pending litigation, tax appeals with Carvey and the Watertown Golf Club, as well as the case Basil versus Town of Watertown.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Please excuse us.
Was chatting enough with John?
We'll reconvene. Do we have a motion?
Yes, we do. I move to approve the settlement agreement between Carby and the town of Watertown for a tax appeal. Any amount due to Carby will be refunded.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve the settlement agreement between the Watertown Golf Club versus Town of Watertown. There will be no credit or refund on the 2023 grand list, as the adjustment will bring it current. Future bills will be adjusted in accordance with the stipulated assessment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Motion passes unanimously.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Good seeing you guys.
Recording stopped.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.